Okay, so this is a quick tutorial video on how to split a fixed paddle. Maybe because, like mine, it was feathered and I didn't want a feathered paddle anymore. But also it could be because you prefer a split paddle because it's easier to transport. You can get it into the boot easier, you can have it in halves inside the kayak a lot easier without it poking out anywhere. So the first job is to measure the middle of the paddle and then cut a really nice neat cut all the way through. The neater the better. Keep it nice and straight, so get your line nice and straight to start with, and cut the paddle in half. So that is step one. Okay, so you've now got your paddle into two halves. So the next thing you've got to do is you've got to measure the inside diameter of your paddle, because that is the size of spigot that you need to order. So this one, for instance, is 29mm exactly. Now, I'll explain what I first did. I first ordered a 29mm carbon tube. Here is said carbon tube. I was going to chop it in half for two paddles. First of all, it is it's extremely tight. I mean, that is dead on 29. I can't twizzle that round now. So that would have probably been too tight, because remember, you've got to araldite this in or epoxy it in. So that wasn't ideal, but the other reason that wasn't ideal was because I then found out the science between aluminium and carbon. When you add a bit of water to it, you create a bit of a battery effect. They're on opposite ends of the sort of metal scale, and it corrodes the aluminium, and so your paddles would eventually just disintegrate quicker because you've added the carbon to it. So the carbon wasn't a great idea. So let's get the carbon out. There you go. So what I did is I looked online and found I could buy aluminium tube. Now places sell this in various sizes. You're looking for the outside diameter size now, so we know the inside diameter, that is 29, so we need something that's just under 29mm. So this one was 28.58mm outside diameter. Now I'm doing 3 paddles, so I ordered 1 metre of it and cut it into 3 sections. But obviously you get whatever size you need, and as you can see, that fits inside nicely, twizzles around. So that's going to leave just enough space between the spigot and the paddle now for the epoxy resin to fill that gap and grip the two together. So once you've got your spigot, your aluminium tube, what I then did was I sanded this half to create a key. Just put a mark in the middle there, and sanded this half, and that will help the epoxy to bond to the spigot. And then I did the same inside the paddle ends, well, just one of them, sanded the inside, and that will help the epoxy to stick in there as well. And then so the next step will be to put epoxy on the end of this, and then put it inside the paddle. So here is the paddle with the spigot inside, and it is more than 24 hours after the last video, and as you can see, I can put as much pressure as I want. I could try turning it with both hands. That's not going anywhere. the epoxy has dried rock solid, and that now is solid as a rock. So all we've got to do now is slide this paddle over the spigot. I'm going to go for 0 feather now. I want a completely flat paddle, so I'm going to line it up completely flat, and then once that's over, drill a hole through and push in a spring button, and we're done. So I've marked up on this paddle where I want the push button to be. As you can see, there's plenty of overlap with the spigot, and then I'll drill through both at the same time, push the spring button in, and then that's it, pretty much job done. It's just time to start drilling. So the hole, let's get out of focus, the hole drilled through quite well, and it went through the spigot at the same time. I've already put the push button in, which, as you can see, just slides in like that. It was a two-handed job, so I couldn't film it, but that just slides in. You've now got your push button in the spigot. That's the only time you'll need to drill this, because if you want different angles now, all you do is you can mark up the angles first, and then you just drill more holes into the paddle, and that means you'll be able to change the feather as you prefer, or rather than marking it up, you can just try it out, set it to where you want and mark it that way. But as you can see now, do this one-handed. There we go. I now have a fixed paddle. I'll lie it down. Fixed paddle again, that can be split. Press the push button and it unclips into 2 halves, and where it was once feathered, it's now completely flat, and I was also able to put over drip rings, which it didn't originally have. And so that's how easy it is, pretty much. Split your paddle in half, measure the inside, buy an appropriate aluminium tube, just fractionally smaller than your inside diameter, epoxy it into one side, sand it beforehand just to help the adhesion, and once that's dried, maybe a day later, put them back together at the angle that you want, drill through, stick a push button in, and that's it, job's done. Thanks for watching.